What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for March 31st, 2025. Well, 4.1 went live, and it came with a ton of fun, but equally as many issues. 2 ships are for sale, but other stuff that was sold is causing a bit of a fuss, and we finally know why VoIP never worked. All that and more on today's Week in Review. And as always, if this is your first Week in Review, this is where I take all of the official Star Citizen news each week, put it into one video, and share some of my opinions about it. I also live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/SaltEMike. Stop by and say hi if you haven't yet. I really enjoy seeing you guys from here over there. We have a lot to get through this week, so let's skip all the sponsor stuff and just say thank you to those who have picked up my merch recently or decided to go above and beyond and become a channel member or leave a super thanks. And with that, let's get into the patch notes. All right, starting out on Monday, this was a fairly busy patch for a Monday in terms of updates, but the main one is in the core tech area, trying to resolve the Hathor loop from getting stuck. For bugs, they ruined everyone's fun, and they made it so players cannot take Valakars for a ride anymore. Tuesday was named a release candidate, release candidate 1. They had very few features, and it looks like what I honestly had feared. They are trying to push this quickly to sell something, calling, this one a release candidate. But yeah, it was funny because it was not a very good patch. The main attempt fix here was trying to resolve server issues, which, a simple way of describing the BWin spike kind of bullet point in the notes here. Spoiler alert, they were not fixed at this time. Then Wednesday, we had another release candidate 2, and now this is when things started to come together a bit. I was able to complete the Hathor loop for the first time outside of a server with 5 players on this patch. So because of that, we move on to Thursday. And Thursday is where we went live with 4.1. And yeah, with all the marketing stuff, all the ships to sell, all the vehicles, everything. And this was the culmination of all the patches that we've talked about over the 3 or 4 weeks that we've been in the PTUs, with the main thing being the new sandbox activity at Hathor, Wicklow, and the Tier 0 item recovery mechanics, as well as Volt rifles and the mining changes. Now, let's get to my experience with it. I had some of the most fun I've had in a while in Star Citizen, running Hathor in a big group. And yes, I know some of you are definitely gated from this kind of content experience, just like you were in the CZs. And eventually it'll open up. But it's been really enjoyable, and just all the moving parts and teamwork required has been fantastic. Outside of that, the servers are an absolute disaster. Interaction delays, desync, Hathor station not working, and more. I know what the solution is. I don't know what the solution is here, I should say, because this is just so obviously popping up now because of the lack of testing in the PTU. So it is what it is unless they make a change. Keep in mind, they've done exactly 0 test preview channels since the letter from the chairman, but you can't get stability without stability testing. So I have no idea what anyone was expecting here, and I don't have any solutions. But because of all the issues, let's move into the Hotfix Central post. As is their workflow, they release a patch, and then, once the stability starts breaking, they put as many hotfixes as possible once they have the data they need, since nobody plays the PTU again. This fix was on Friday, and it was a smallish one. And yeah, it's just to fix the most frequent server crash, and I expect more fixes quickly. Now, we did not get any as of the recording of this video on Sunday morning. Then, unfortunately, we did get a post from Balt, who is Benoit, in testing chat, letting us know that they're going to lower player counts to improve performance. That's not really a good sign, but hopefully they nail down more issues and raise it back quickly. The goal cannot be to stay at 500 players per shard, and it has to be going above it, not lowering it. With that, let's move into roadmap updates. All right, and all we have are updates for release view, and we'll start out with the Antium armor. This is a new armor that is associated with the Hathor sandbox activity, but I find it really funny to be marked as committed because there are like a few that just have no material on them, and they're just gray box, no paint. There's some that do. On top of that, Zac had to respond on Spectrum about it. This is clearly the tracker armor from CitizenCon, and it has no hit marker. So it's a combat associated armor, but because they don't have whatever the tracker UI would be, they just decided to put no HUD instead. So, you know, that's a little bit weird. But again, this is something that we saw at CitizenCon, actually going all the way back to 2023, where they showed the first-person scanning and first-person ping and things like that. So I think at this point, it's kind of fair to put pressure on them to get content from CitizenCon 2023 out, like FPS ping. But that is a feature, and this year is not the feature year. So I'm glad the armor is in our hands, and with, you know, some content focused around it, and that they're not holding it back. But at the same time, I do still think it's fair to be like, hey, what about those features, huh? So it's hard because the patches are so unstable still, and this was supposed to be the year of stability. It's almost April. It's time for things to be better. Then Arena Commander maps. They added 2 new maps, Astor's Clearing, which is only available in Free Flight. And that's a Stanton location in Microtech, one of the kind of prettier spots there. And then they added continued to add the Theaters of War map, but it's just kind of the Hathor map as far as the FPS game modes. So you're just up at the top at the OLP, but then you're also able to be down below in maps like Free Flight and things like that. So it's really, really good. It's really, really fun, but it's not necessarily suited for games like Gun Rush. Then the Junior Valakar. Many of you have seen this by now, but these little guys are all over Daymar, and it's very basic AI experience. They spawn and spit at you and do a bit of damage. They're easy to kill. Many of us, I think, were disappointed that the Apex wasn't a part of the event, so hopefully they get that in. Ships, there's just the 2 committed ships that are pretty obvious. The Drake Golem, that we'll hear about in just a second, and that's a Drake mining ship, basically, and the Argo Atlas Geo, which we talked about at length in last week's episode. So if you're living under a rock, it mines both vehicle minables and hand minables, and you can just touch a button to switch, and it has a jump pack. So yeah, you can fly. But with that, let's jump into video updates. All right, we actually have 2 videos this week. We start out on Tuesday with a behind the ships with the Drake Golem. And if you don't know what it is yet, this is the rundown.
The Golem's basically a new starter ship from Drake for people looking to get into mining.
It's very bare bones. They seen the prospector and was like, we can do that, maybe. And then went to the scrapyard and grabbed a bunch of stuff and stuck it together. Starter Miner is, instead of having all these fancy heads that do fancy things and you skip a couple of steps, it's learning how to do mining, learning how the different heads and different consumables help.
I believe the best part is it's compact, can mining, and also price, performance balanced ship.
So it's a starter. You'll see later that it's kind of base price is pretty good, but it also has 32 SU like the Prospector, and it's just much smaller in terms of its size. Seems like the perfect starting ship for mining, right? Wrong. The next clip will explain why.
It's a completely brand new mining head from Drake, so it'll be unlike anything that you can see on any other ships.
The mining is a little bit more unstable, because I would say that Drake decided to get the cheapest laser that they could find to get this to work, so it's a little unstable, so it kind of breaks some of the ore, so you don't get as much as you would with some of the others.
Probably not as versatile as something that you get from the Prospector.
You can't take its heads off, but you can add the gadgets to it to make it work in different ways. But it will definitely get the majority of the rocks that you can mine as a single player in the game.
So they want to make a starter ship to give players to learn how to mine those first steps, and then they have a lot of instability on the laser, which is exactly the opposite of helping people learn how to mine. I thought long and hard about this laser for the last week, and while putting this together, I think I might have a better solution that could work, is using cluster modifier potentially. What if the laser is fairly easy to use, teaches you to use some modules and the gadgets and things like that to enhance buffs or counter some of the debuffs, like, I don't know, resistance, right? And then the only thing this laser has against the prospector is it's a bit less efficient. Even when we get to the new mining changes where you're going to have one material per rock, it's probably going to have inert material, just not other minables in it. So you can make sure that, you know, with the cluster modifier, that there's more inert than you would normally have with other lasers. Having a really hard laser to use on a starter ship just seems a bit odd to me. Let me know what you think, though. I love that the laser has power as a mining veteran, but as a starter, I'm not sure I get it. So moving on to Inside Star Citizen, titled Align and Mine, the show starts out with probably the least known information about the event so far, and that's the lore behind it. So let's hear why we even have content here in the first place.
We're actually going to be introducing what we've been calling internally as sort of our B story. In a nutshell, the regen technology, which to this point has basically been allowing people to die and get regen back, the technology begins to fail.
And that's being referred to as the regen crisis.
So it's throwing the Empire into a bit of chaos and confusion because this technology that everybody thought was basically going to conquer death is not as effective as promised.
Now for the player, nothing changes. You can just go about your business and it's business as usual. But for the populace, it's an issue.
So at this point, the Imperator is basically going to start lobbying the Senate to start loosening scientific restrictions on research. One company, Rayari, has put the call out to the population to try to find these sort of very rare minerals to basically bring to their outpost to help fuel their research to help resolve the crisis.
And the way you get those brand new materials is the Align and Mine sandbox activity.
So in case you weren't aware, there was an Imperator election a while back, and they never really did anything in the game to show the impact of the new leadership of the human race, right? So the Imperator is very science-focused, is AI-friendly, so I think this is their sneaky way of finally starting to weave that story into the PU. This is also really weird that there's a regen crisis, but it doesn't affect the player. So why should I care? You know what I mean? Like when you, the player, is affected, that's when events like these are actually meaningful. So again, let me know what you guys think about that one. It is very odd to me that this is the choice they went down. If anything, the regen crisis is the opposite way. Like our regen is not a crisis at all. It's like amazing now. You spawn with everything you died with, right? So it's like super goofy. So next we get an explanation of the steps to participate in the new sandbox activities at the Hathor locations. And keep in mind, this is an incredibly long clip for what we normally do here, and I even shrunk it down quite a bit. So there's a lot of steps to this. Check it out.
At each of these Hathor locations, there's an alignment dish. And the players have to go around and try to find out how to align the dish towards the satellite.
So while these mining facilities have been abandoned, they are by no means vacant.
While you're at the PAFs, you will be contending with Ninetales.
It's essential that the players search the area as much as they can. I can't stress that enough.
Once you've managed to find all three facilities and align them with the orbital platform, you need to collect the power banks that they've left behind on the surface.
Now with the PAFs all activated, it's time to get in your ship and head up to the orbital laser platform.
The power banks that you would have obtained at the platform alignment facilities need to be inserted into their slots at the orbital laser platform. Players can head inside, fighting through, again, more Ninetales while they try to get to this terminal in the middle. That will charge the laser, and players should see a really cool effect in their environment to signify that this laser is ready to be fired.
So once you've armed the laser and it begins its sort of initiation sequence, you then have to go back down to the surface. Near where the impact is going to be, you'll be able to see this because it will be a crater. There will be a bunker nearby. This bunker is where you will do the final stage, which is firing the laser.
Why are you making people go back down to the surface?
Well, I mean, down on the surface is where the loot is. Like, that's where the treasure is. That's where you're gonna actually get the resources that you came to mine.
So I'm really curious what you guys think of the amount of steps and what you have to do here. That is a lot of work. This certainly could be done solo or in a tiny group, but this is absolutely a small to large group content activity, and I think that's okay. Now they bring us back to the surface to tell us what the reward is.
So when the lasers finish firing, it will have mined into the surface of this planet, which will reveal a cave network.
Inside this cave are 3 new mineable types. It's a fight for whoever can get the goods out of that cave as fast as possible and as safely as possible. We are in Stanton, so if you're gonna fight some other players, beware of crime stats.
Then you get to choose, do you want some interesting random loot from the collector, or do you want to just get credits?
Let's help the human race. Let's help the human race.
Yeah. Help the human race and make some bank.
So the reward structure here is probably the only bad part of the event. It's clearly a group event, but the rewards are kind of all for individuals, whether it's ships, guns, armor. You can't really share in that. And lastly, we learned who's going to give us those rewards.
Sand System actually has an exciting new resident. We've introduced our first Banu. His name is Wicklow. Wicklow is also offering a counter mission to the minerals that Rayari is looking for. So if you don't want to sell them off to Rayari to help with the regen crisis, Wicklow is offering some sweet, tasty items in exchange for the same materials.
Here you go. Bring chip in.
The unique thing about Wicklow is he'll never pay you any money because he's got a load of shit in his warehouse that he'd rather give you instead.
The collector offers everything from armor pieces to skins to weapons.
Really pretty, yes. Solid build, but also fun to make.
And other cool little surprises.
Even spaceships.
Even spaceships, big ones. And the best thing about Wicklow is, as we keep moving and building out this universe, his presence will stay. You will keep needing to interact with him, he'll keep needing random things from you, so you better make good friends with him.
The concept of this is absolutely amazing. The first ever situation where you're turning something in and getting something in return that isn't Alpha UEC. A true barter system in this game can be really powerful in the future. On top of that, they are using mission logic to do this. So the idea here is that we could experience actual quests in the future where the reward at the end doesn't have to be Alpha UEC or UEC when the game is out. So with that, that was video updates. Let's move on to the other updates. All right, and as always, we start out with a sneak peek. This is certainly a ship, and it looks like an RSI ship. There was some talk maybe a week or two ago about an Heavy Mantis ship on an SCL, so maybe that's that. Let me know what you think if I'm on it, but I'm not entirely sure on this one. There's like a nacelle in the background that looks RSI. I don't know. Then we move on to the Drake Golem sound, and down below is the link in the description for the full Golem sale page. But we obviously covered at length already amongst all my channels in the past week or so, so it really comes down to the paints and the price. The price is much lower than expected at $55 War Bond. That's if you spend new money, and $60 US if you want to use store credit. More on price in just a second. The paints are really great. I like a few of them specifically, like the Coalfire, and I just like my ships black. I'm boring, leave me alone. The white and blue one is really cool as well. The big topic here for me is that they have a miner starter package, and it's at $75. So at the time of recording, this is what I believe is the price for Star Citizen on release. That's what they think it should be. So say what you want about the price in the comments. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, please. It is 2025, and I think this is pretty much expected for AAA game. Is at least it's not $100, I guess. The Drake Golem question and answer thread was next, and the first question led to answering why the Prospector is no longer a starter, and I love their answer. $150 is not a starting price point for a video game, and I have been hammering them about this for years. We know that they have a small RSI salvager in the works as well for the salvaging side, but the difference is the Vulture is a starter in terms of its SCU capacity, in my opinion. So curious how they're going to spin that. I assume it's just going to be the dollar amount that you have to pay. Next, they discuss why there is has no interior, and just to keep it in budget is what they said. But literally every other starter outside of the Mustang Alpha has a walkable interior. So for those that are concerned about eating and drinking, that has to still be 100% in the plans for you to be able to do in the cockpit. There are tons of combat ships that are single-seater, right? So they all have that issue. So that issue has to get resolved at some point. Last one we'll discuss is that these are bespoke, the bags. But I want to take the time to point out that the only question I would have wanted answered that was about refinery ships. How do these bespoke bags intend to work with ships like the I forgot the name of it, the Expanse, right? So that's really, really important, is to discuss that at some point. My guess is they're not, and they're not planning on doing refinery ships. They're planning on starting out with refining on a base, if they ever do base building. We'll see. Then the Argo Atlas Geo Sale was available as well. Nothing crazy here of note on the sale page either. So again, link will be down in the description if you want to check out the whole thing. But as expected, the price is around 40 US. To me, the only thing to really point out here is that if you purchased the Atlas stock and had some paints for it, the paints can be applied to this one as well. Then we had an Argo Atlas question and answer thread. And the reason this vehicle is so great is not that it can fly, in my opinion, it's that it can mine anything. It can even mine ship minables. I don't think it can collect them though, and yeah, with the aid of a gadget. So for the hand and vehicle minables, simply press Alt-4, not Alt-F4, to swap between the lower power levels to mine the different types, right? So yeah, it basically made the Align and Mine event pretty awesome, and it was made for it, it seems like. They did a terrible job with the UI on this, though. There's no indication of what mode you're actually in. This next one is really important. The Geo might feel pretty OP right now in terms of its movement, but they state here that jumps will eat battery, and you will have to replace it. And the last one we will discuss is around the jump pack. Still, none of the Atlas vehicles can perform anything in space right now. You cannot apply the jump pack to the Atlas either. So with that, let's move on to dev posts, where we start out with VoIP. So Niku went onto Spectrum to respond to a VoIP complaint and told us information I have been begging to hear about for years. I don't recall it ever working well on a consistent basis, and now we know why. And I just look forward to it being addressed. Although this patch, in my experience, has been pretty decent on the PTU at least. Then rock mining. A player was pointing out that many of the minables on planet surfaces are completely broken this patch, and Niku to the rescue again. He is there to let us know that they actually can reproduce this, which usually means that it is a lot easier to fix. So I would expect a fix in a hotfix patch if they're able to do that, and it doesn't require a .1. Then 4.1, he got 2 wins here, so let Nico hit us with, some good stuff. Now he's going to get a little bit of a loss, I think. There are items you will keep between patches, he said. And again, I know a ton of people lost ships, components, everything. I lost a Corsair I bought literally the day before and never flew. So yeah, I don't get it, but I don't think I stored it. Or no, I did fly it actually, yes. And I just don't think I stored it properly. So that might have been on me. So to be fair, but I did lose components that I did not use at all. I bought them and left them at the location I bought them at. Then Freya is here to remind everyone that Align and Mine is not an event. It is something that will stick with us and always be a gameplay option. So if you can't do the content now, you will be able to do it eventually. That is if they continue to support it and don't let it break over time. Keep that in mind. And that is where we'll leave it this week. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. What a cool week. It was a lot of fun playing Align and Mine, regardless of the server issues, but they really need to fix those, because it eventually starts to wear on you and break you down, and you just don't want to deal with them and play. So with that said, leave a like, leave a comment down below on anything that we might have discussed today, and subscribe if you guys are really enjoying Week in Review. And again, if you guys want to go above and beyond and pick up some merch at saltymike.tv, or do some super thanks and super chats and all that stuff and joins down below. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys next week.